what comes to mind is I believe you pointed out that a good ruler is not questioned, I believe. And to
Yeah.
me, like of course you want a ruler that makes incredible decisions and acts. Of course, we're all fallible, right? But
Mhm.
to assume that any leader should not be questioned is will lead to tyranny, right? It will lead
Yeah.
ultimately. And that what comes to mind is I'm reading the second volume of a Revolutionary War trilogy right now. It's forget the author's name. I'll have to pull it up here. Um, but in the book, they were talking about England being heavily taxed and the
Mhm.
population. A lot of the discussion in Parliament was, do we continue to fund this war in the United States while we're in poverty ourselves, just because King George wants, the pride of being able to subjugate the 13 colonies. Ultimately, it was King George's war, and then the people had to suffer for that. So even then, there was a lot of that issue. And on the American side, a lot of the generals that were coming in from France to help train the army didn't understand why the Continentals were not just obeying orders. And
Mhm.
I think that this is one of the real gems of at least the founding of the United States. It's gotten us into a lot of trouble, but at least initially this was great. Was There was always an asking of, well, why am I doing this? Like, you're telling me that I have to do this, but I need to know why. I need a buy-in. And that I think is incredibly pivotal in getting a free society, or at least a moderately free society, to follow through with whatever it is that you're doing. You need that buy-in. So if you wanted to invade, if you wanted to get involved in World War II, you needed a Pearl Harbor. You needed something to get the American people to go from maybe a level of isolationism, maybe even dabbled with a little bit of nihilism, getting into a war, buying into that, getting going. Um, we've seen that throughout history, and I mean that's essentially any cause for a false flag, right? Is some level of manipulation that wouldn't be there on its own to get people to buy into something, and I think that that's really important as we continue to grow. Like, there's a lot of gridlock there in terms of asking, why should we be doing things, why? But I mean, that's ultimately, that is what brings forth the truth, because then you can make an unbiased decision on whether or not this is a correct decision. Okay, well, you're telling me to do this because you're an expert, but I need to know why you're telling me to do this. Why should I do it? And then I'll make the decision. And so I think that even that asking of why, and the people having the ability to ask why, is somewhat of a firewall between total tyranny, and then just, at the same time, complete unfoldment because there's no order, and it's just people doing whatever they want to do.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely a part where you can tell that this is not an American text. This is an ancient text. Um, and you might say that for America, like for maintaining the Tao of America, we've added the element of transparency, right, to government, transparency and representation. So this is a text we might look at it as sort of cynical of like, okay, the ruler wants unquestioned control, so he doesn't have to deal with the people's questions. But even from that point of view, like even if you wanted to address leaders of America today, you say, okay, you guys just want to not be questioned. You want your media to say what you want and people just to go along with it. Okay, the best way to do that is to be honest. Like that's how you get trust is to be honest. And so even if you want to have like some lies, the best way to be corrupt and have lies is to be mostly honest and just like a little bit corrupt, you know? And that's cynical, but I'd rather have that than just this nonsense position of like, oh, we can just lie all the time and be super corrupt and then just be like, no, conspiracy theorist.
Right.
Like this can't go on, right? This game can't continue. Um, at least if there's just the once in a while abuse of trust and the rulers get what they want, but if we have a rich, prosperous society and it's mostly trustworthy, I mean, might be all you can really ask for.